Parents, we apologize. During the taping of Miss Emily, we had audio difficulties, and as a result, none of the audio was rendered during the video. As such, during the course of this video, I will narrate what Miss Emily was saying. Here, Miss Emily is introducing herself, and she introduced her aide. Miss Emily then talks about what to expect when you arrive in her class, and she's very excited to have you there. First, she points out that to her left there are lockers, and each of the lockers have a name on it, and there is an AM and a PM based on the colors. Inside the locker, there are areas to hang your book bag, and they do encourage that you bring book bags this year, and there are also some bins for mail. Each day, they will clean these lockers out in keeping with the protocols during this period. Next, Miss Emily shows where students will sign in. There are name tags ready for the students. Those who are not able to write their names yet will be able to pick up their name tag with their name already on it and then trace over the letters, thus helping them to learn to write their names. For students who already know how to write their names, they will have a blank name tag to write their names on each day for attendance. Next, Miss Emily shows that each day students' temperatures will be taken. Somebody will bring the students to the classroom. When the students come into the classroom, the teacher has a thermometer that she will take the temperature of the student with. And assuming that the student meets all protocols, the student will attend class. Likewise, the teacher and aides will be wearing face shields. Sometimes there will be masks underneath them, but they wanted students to know what it will look like to wear the face shield because it can be a little bit strange looking at first. These, of course, are for the protection of the students and the staff. There are also face masks that students will have. They will be attached to the lanyard of the students, and they are adjustable. By attaching to the lanyards, if they are dropped, they will not hit the ground. These will be cleaned on a regular basis. Next, Miss Emily brings you over to the reading area, and she explains that there will be a fireproof partition that will separate the room into two sides, thus keeping kids socially distanced as necessary. This area that she is showing has a spot for the teacher to read to the students. There is also a schedule for the day on the board. Students will be able to look at this, and as you can tell, most of these instructions are accompanied with an image so that students can get used to not only the image, but then learn what these things mean based on the words. As you can see, it's going to be a full day of fun activities. The room is also divided into multiple centers. Miss Emily writes on the board the various centers. Some are STEM centers, then there are blocks, dramatic play, tables and the hatchboard, which she will show later, an art area, math area, discovery and science, a sensory area, a library, and a writing area. Next, Miss Emily walks past her desk and shows two more areas or centers in her room. One area is for the Legos and blocks, and these are cleaned on a regular basis as well to make sure everything is sanitary. Kids can get in and to the play centers and play with the different blocks and such. And she mentioned that if a student is in one center, they will be encouraged over time to visit other centers and do different things so they have greater experiences. She spends a good deal of time explaining that this area will only have a few students in it at a time so that they can keep everything clean and keep students away from one another. She then shows how they will sanitize the blocks, but the can of spray was not cooperating at the time, so she did a great job of imitating the hissing sound that the spray would make. Again, she explains that kids will be encouraged to move to different centers so they have a full experience of all of the centers within the room. They will not necessarily be forced to move to different ones, but encouraged over time for that experience. That's so important to them. Miss Emily then explains that they will spend a great deal of time talking to the students about germs, about how to keep their hands clean and to make sure that they don't spread germs. And they were going to spend time discussing with the students how to keep the different toys clean. So if a student were to put something in his or her mouth or something like that, they'll know what to do afterwards. She goes on to talk about the hatchboard, which is an incredibly powerful piece of technology. In simplest terms, it's like a giant iPad. She then explains that there's another center with a variety of items in it for the kids to play, but there is a bucket that they are referring to as the yuck bucket. If a student were to put something in his or her mouth or spilled something on an item that needs to be cleaned, they will be told to put the item in the yuck bucket, and those items will be sanitized later. There is also a bottle of hand sanitizer in the bucket that the kids will be encouraged to use. Miss Emily then moves on to a variety of bins. These bins currently are not full, but they will be. In each bin, there will be a bin for each student. There will be sensory bins, so they're going to start off with Play-Doh. So if a student wants to do something in sensory, they can get in and play with the Play-Doh. Next, that are supply bins for each child. She shows some of the items that will be in the bin. Not all these bins are completely full of all the items yet, but as you can see, there are pencils and crayons and markers and stick glue, and eventually there will be safety scissors and some other items. Each student will have his or her own bin, so they are not sharing the different items. She then picks up one of the sensory boxes and shows some of the things in it. In this case, there is Play-Doh and some tools that go along with the Play-Doh for fun. She explains that there are a number of different items that they'll be able to use in the various areas. One of them is a craft area where kids can punch holes in paper. There is an easel for artwork. It's basically the art area. There is a sink that students will be able to use to wash their hands, and there is a water fountain, but they will not be able to use the water fountain per the protocols of safety. They will be able to use the sink to wash their hands. She encourages parents to send a child in with a bottle of water if they would like the students to have water. She then asks her aide if there's anything else to add, and it was decided they had covered everything well, and they are super excited about seeing all of you. Again, parents, I apologize for the audio difficulty. I will tell you that Miss Emily did a wonderful job explaining everything, and certainly a much better job than this narrator. We hope that this gives you the information you were looking for, and if you have any questions, by all means, contact the ESC at 937-456-1187. Thank you.